what's going on, what's happening. So I'm gonna say this, man. I did some research on Billy Carson, and I've listened to a lot of his lectures. I see where he's a 52-year-old man, born in Queens, New York, has a certificate from MIT as well as Harvard. No college degrees. Now, I'm not trying to throw no shade. You don't necessarily have to have any type of college degrees in order to study ancient civilizations. That's not what I'm saying. But it seems as though, at least around the net, people are saying that this man has a college degree from Harvard as well as MIT. And it's crazy because this is to me, in my opinion, this is a new age Dr. Malachi Z.York. No lie. You know what I'm saying? Like in the 90s, we had a Dr. Malachi Z.York, also known as Iman Isa, also known as the son of Enki, Murdoch, also known as Melchizedek. And now that this man is locked up for 135 years, it seems as though that Billy Carson has taken on, his persona. And I'm not saying he's saying that he's Dr. Malachi Z.York or any of that. But when I listen to his lectures, it seems as though that he's taken a book out of the many books that Dr. Malachi Z.York has wrote, and which is crazy to me. So it seems as though that Billy Carson is plagiarizing Dr. Malachi Z.York as far as dealing with the ancient Sumerian texts and Anunnakis, and Dr. Malachi Z.York was plagiarizing Zechariah Stinson. And it is to my understanding that Zechariah Stinson, when he was talking about the Anunnakis and how they descended on Earth and they enslaved the people that was here to mine for gold and other resources, that he was just like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Like he really didn't factually know these things. And I'm just trying to understand, man, like, why are people really like gravitating to this man as if the things that he's saying is something new? And the question is what is his purpose? Real talk. Because it's like, to me, it sounds like a new religion that he's creating, where the Anunnakis are evil, the devil. You know what I'm saying? And I know you're going to be like, well, no, not really. He said Enlil was Satan and this and that and so forth. No. Every time I hear him lecture, every time I hear his lectures, he mainly talks about Thoth, also known as Tahuti, and how he ruled over 16,000 years, you know what I'm saying, on the planet Earth. He talks about Enlil and how evil Enlil was, and how Enki was trying to, you know what I'm saying, save the human beings. But overall, he talks about how the Anunnakis in general were these evil beings, and that we are the children of them, but we can become greater than they are. And it bugs me out because he gives all of these different examples of how evil the Anunnakis were, in specific Enlil. Like, for an example, he'll say, Enlil wanted to, kill off all the people off, at a specific time because they were being too noisy. And it's like, okay. Oh, man, you talking about chemtrails. Well, just imagine back then when Enlil, what he did is he poisoned all the crops to starve the people out. Okay. And then he keeps on going about how Enlil did this and how Enlil did that, and these Anunnakis did that, and they were demonic and this and that and so forth. And it's crazy because one thing that bothers me about people, and this is the reason why I don't like to talk too much about ancient civilizations, things that happened before me, is they always talk as if it's in first point of view, like as if they were there, like as if Enlil and Enki and all the rest of these supreme beings, like that's like Billy Carson, he could call them up. That's his homeboys or something. Well, he's talking about things that happened to may or may not transpire 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. And I can tell you, At the end of the day, when he talks about the Anunnakis and how terrible they were 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, I can tell you another group of people that was just as terrible as the Anunnakis, if not worse. And the name starts with an A. The name of this group of people starts with the letter A. Oh, you don't know? I'm going to tell you. Americans. Americans. In specific, the non-blacks. Because when he goes off on this, Billy Carson goes off on this thing of, oh, well, you know, the Anunnakis enslaved us and this and that and so forth. Well, I could pull up the transatlantic slave trade. Well, and Lil wanted to kill off the people because they were being too noisy. Well, I could talk about all these football events, football stadiums, how people screaming and hollering and drinking beer and being loud and getting drunk. I could talk about clubs where people are drinking and smoking and shooting and killing and all the rest of that stuff. The point that I'm trying to make to you, it seems as though that Billy Carson and the likes want to put the blame on some, I'll say for now, fictitious beings. People that we may or may not know exist based on him reading some tablets. Cuneiform, written in cuneiform and hieroglyphics. That we don't have any factual evidence that states that the Anunnakis really truly exist. And if they do, I know they wouldn't like people such as Billy Carson coming out with this smear campaign. That in the court of law, here in America, here on the planet Earth, you have a plaintiff and a defendant. And both of them have proper representation. Where are the people that represent the Anunnakis to speak on their behalf? Because I've heard this evil shit before. Especially coming from Dr. Malachi Z.York. I remember when he was on some shit like, the Anunnakis are reptilian. And they want to eat us. And I'm like, how is that? How is that? Just the other day, you told us to pray to them. And now you're telling us that now they want to eat us? Which is crazy to me. Which is crazy to me. But at the end of the day, let's be real. Let's just say the Anunnakis were reptilians. Let's just say they do want to eat us. Well, why? That's a problem? Oh yeah, it's a human problem because human beings don't want to they don't want to be food for dinner. It's crazy. Humans don't want to be food for dinner. But I can tell you someone else that don't want to be food for dinner. The cows that we eat. The chickens that we eat. The pigs that we eat. The fish that we eat. The turkeys that we eat on Thanksgiving. So what does it feel like when we're no longer on top of the food chain? How does it feel? Everything that Billy Carson talks about as far as dealing with the Anunnakis, seriously, I'm not even lying. It seems as though that he's talking about Americans. Or rather just overall human beings. Because we are the worst. And what we often tend to do, oftentimes we tend to do this. We want to put the blame of the evilness that we do on something that we can't see or hear, that may or may not exist, such as the devil, Shaitan, the Anunnakis, and the list goes on. It's crazy, man. I'm hearing about these Anunnakis. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't heard about the Anunnakis in years, man. Now all of a sudden they the subject matter. Everybody's talking about them. But why are you mentioning them? Are you afraid that they're going to come back? And what are you afraid for? That they're going to do the shit that we do to ourselves? Like, I'm just trying to understand this. It don't make sense to me what Billy Carson says. We got a thing called human trafficking. Like, if you don't want to talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we got a thing called human trafficking going on right now. I don't need any Anunnakis to come down and enslave me and my people in order to see slavery. Human trafficking going on right now. There's certain rituals being performed right now where people are eating human body parts. The same things that Billy Carson and others talk about, the Anunnakis have done. Straight up. And it's crazy when they ask Billy Carson, what do these Anunnakis look like? He'll say that they look like all of us. But then I've heard him say in other videos that they have African-like features. And that some of them range real dark skin all the way up to light skin, or having like vitiligo. You know, patches of, you know, like light and brown skin, patches on their face. So here we go again. Why do some of these Anunnakis that's evil have African features? When the Ashtar Fleet Command is mentioned, you know, the ones that they talk about having blue eyes, blonde hair, that come from another planet, they don't ever talk about how evil those people are. It seems as though when they mention them, they're angelic, they're benevolent. But when they mention the Anunnakis, those are the Nephilims, the ones that fell from heaven, the evil ones. So I'm catching it. I'm understanding this now. This ain't nothing but another modernized version of Christianity mixed in with Dr.Malachi Z.York shit and Zechariah Ascension. That's all it is. I read the comments in some of his lectures that he got on YouTube. Read them. And they're like, oh man, this guy is wonderful, man. I can't believe it, and this and that. And I'm sitting here like, yo, this shit that he's talking about, I was reading this shit in the White York books, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.York, also known as Abanubi Rakbata, also known as Afarete Atunre, also known as Murdoch, also known as Chief Black Eagle. He got a whole shitload of names. Matter of fact, Dr. Malachi Z.York was way more deeper than your man Billy Carson. His hustle was way more supreme than Billy Carson's hustle, because this man had over 435 acres in Edenton, Georgia. He actually had pyramids. I got pictures. I went down there. I performed my Mugaraj, my journey around the pyramids, where I threw up my hands in the air and gave praise to my ancient deities, whether it be the Anunnakis or the Natiru. But later to find out they are all one and the same. I touched the scarab beetle for luck. This is crazy. And what's more crazier is he got non-blacks listening to him. Billy Carson, that is. I see why. I see why. Because they can say, well, man, shit, slavery wasn't nothing. The things that we did, we do, you know, ain't nothing compared to the Anunnakis. Well, you don't know if they did or didn't do that. What Billy Carson said that they did. Because Billy Carson wasn't there. And just like books, just like how we have paper in modernized time and we can write lies and put it in a book, they could have done the same thing far as carved in cuneiform or hieroglyphics lies. We don't know this to be factual. We don't know this to be true. Let me ask you a question. And then once I ask you the question, ask Billy Carson that same question I'm about to ask you all. Have you ever seen an Anunnaki? Have you ever seen a being that averages from 7 to 10, 11 foot tall? That's real dark skin, or real light skin, that can look like a Caucasian or East Indian. Have you ever seen one descend down? And if you have, what do they look like? Like, what kind of clothes they got? And all of this mess, this madness that Billy Carson talks about, and the likes, that weren't there to witness what they said the Anunnakis may have done. I'm just trying to understand, if they're these evil beings and you seen them and they came down, why are they not doing the same type of, wreaking the same type of havoc that they wreaked 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, according to Billy Carson? And don't cop out and say, well, you know, they put their DNA, their genes into us, and this is the reason why we act the way that we act. Okay, that's cool. Now, watch this. You have the power of will. You have the power of will. In other words, you know better. You know right from wrong. So why do you choose to do wrong? Because I could go on and on and on with this. It's not just American people are evil. It's the human species is. I could go on. We could talk about King Leopold and what he did. We could talk about Hitler. We could go on and on with this. You mean to tell me, watch this. You mean to tell me that what the Anunnakis may or may have not done 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, 1,000 years ago, including Amun-Ra, because he talks about Amun-Ra and how this Billy Carson, he talks about how demonic Amun-Ra was too. Let me ask you this question. Throughout these past few years, you mean to tell me the murders and the killings don't equal up to the Anunnakis? The wars that we've been in, America alone, the abortion clinics, how many people, how many kids, babies have been aborted? The guns that we create and we shoot and kill each other with, the drugs that we create and we overdose on, they don't amount to the killings that supposedly the Anunnakis have done 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. I've never met an Anunnaki. I'm not saying that I'm an Anunnaki. I'm just telling you that this is a cop-out. This is a cop-out for human beings to put the blame on a group of beings that may or may not exist. That at the end of the day, human beings need to be held accountable for their evil acts and stop blaming it on spooky people. Demons, devils, shaitan, Anunnakis, this, that, no, so forth. That shit is crazy to me. I used to go to this herbalist way out in the country in North Carolina. Deep woods. Lady named Marge. Pretty sure she's dead, you know what I'm saying? May she rest in peace. Because she was old when, you know, I used to go see her. Caucasian lady. And yo, she was right on the money. You know, she had the science, you know what I'm saying? Like I would go there and say, hey, listen, you know, my body's going through this and that. And she had this thing called muscle testing. So she would put my arm out and she would take the herb and touch my body. You know what I'm saying? And know exactly what my body needed. And every time I would go to her, you know what I'm saying, she gave me the proper herbs, real herbs that I needed to heal my body. But I never forget. Every time I used to walk inside her cabin, she had this cabin. It was a store, but in the back, it was her office where she did the muscle testing. I never forget it. Every time I go in the back to get the muscle testing done, she would have the commander of the Ashtar Fleet Command, a portrait of him sitting up on the wall. Like, don't get it twisted, non-blacks. I know your science. See, let me tell you something. Dr. Malachi Z.York, yeah, he was a hustler. He did a lot of bad things. But one thing he did do that I'll attest for, and I could give it to him, I'm going to give it up. I'm going to give you respect when respect is due. He schooled us on everything. Everything. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know what I'm saying, I'm not one of these people that don't believe that there aren't any intelligent life forms outside of this planet. I'm not one of those. I just like dealing with facts. And to me, it sounds like Billy Carson is just talking a lot of shit about a group of people that he's never met. And like I said, he got a copy out of the book, several books of Dr. Malachi Z.York. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna do you even one solid one. When he does lectures, I don't know whether he has somebody do it or he does it himself. He uses a lot of the pictures when referring to Anu the Most High, Enlil, and Enki that Dr. Malachi Z.York used in the holy tablets that he wrote. And these pictures these pictures or drawings came from the members of the cult that I was in. So to me, it just seems as though that this man is full of it. And I have a right, let's just say this, I have a right to my opinion. So don't try to say, you know, I try to, you know, defame his character, this and that and so forth. I have a right to my opinion. A lot of the things that he's saying is damn near the same thing, Billy Carson that is, damn near the same thing that Dr. Malachi Z.York was saying. To the T. And if Billy Carson asks him, does he know about Dr. Malachi Z.York? Because if he say he doesn't, that's kind of fishy to me. Straight up. I'm not going to, you know, defame this man's character. I'm not going to talk about his criminal background and none of that. I'm talking about the information. I'm not here to assassinate his character. I'm here to talk about his information. And I'm just sick and tired of people talking about things that happened 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 450,000 years ago, and they weren't there. Now, if this man say he was there, let me tell you something. Dr. Malachi Z.York was a little bit more convincing, if that's a word. Convincing. Why? Because he actually said he was there. He actually said he actually knew what planet he was from. He said he was from the 19th galaxy. No, excuse me. The 9th planet, the 8th planet Risk, 19th galaxy, Ilion. He actually knew where he was from. This man said he had 76 trillion years of knowledge. He was a little bit more convincing than Billy Carson, because Billy Carson is just saying, yo, I've done the research, I've gone over here, I read the tablets, and I've read the writings off the walls, and this and that and so forth. Nah, man, Dr. Malachi Z.York said he actually was an Anunnaki. He actually said that Enki was his father. And the funny thing about him is, if this is all true, and you command the ship, the planet-sized ship Nibiru, and you do all of these things, now that you're serving 135 years in a mortal prison, a prison built by mortals, why can't you take, out of the 76 trillion years of knowledge you have, why can't you take at least about 500 years of that in order to set yourself free? That's all I want to know. But yeah, man, Americans are doing a fine job of being evil all by themselves. We don't even want to get, that's crazy how I brought that up. I don't even want to get into the privatized prisons. How it's I think it's the 13th Amendment or the 14th. I don't know which one exactly. I think it's the 13th or the 14th, where if you are a prisoner, you are a slave to the state. You're a slave. You're an overall slave. I think that's the 13th Amendment. So all of these things, in conclusion, all of the things that Billy Carson says that the Anunnakis have done to the people that existed thousands upon thousands and thousands of years ago, American people, our American government, the U.S. military are doing the same exact thing, if not worse. Straight up. Look at what we're doing to the planet. We're destroying this planet. We're going to war with one another. We have classism, racism. Come on, man. And you gonna fucking have the nerve to put the blame on some Anunnakis that may or may not exist, that come from another galaxy? The imperfections of man and women, you gonna put the blame on someone else? Nah, man, that's some pseudo-religious shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you trying to do. You trying to create a new religion or some shit? What about the whole whitewashing of history? Like, man, come on, man. I hate it when people talk about the Egyptians, or rather comedians. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, stop it. And then when it boils down to Rome and Greece, don't nobody say too much about that, but it was pederasty, homosexuality, and bestiality going on there. Don't nobody want to say nothing about that though, right? That the hierarchies had an affection towards little boys. Don't nobody want to say nothing about that, right? When I talk about the slave trade and slavery, in specific, this hurts my soul to say it, but this is what you non-blacks did to my ancestors. Bucking the slave. You don't want to talk about that, right? You don't want to talk about the Old South. How in Florida, there were non-blacks that were chopping up little black babies and throwing them in the swamp, in the waters, as alligator bait. You want to talk about that? Man, fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. The Anunnakis, please. Anunnakis evil. Yeah, man, fuck out of here. I'm not trying to hear none of that. I'm out of here. Peace.